Hello. First, I'll be sharing with you the results of the opinion polls conducted by the Levada Center in Russia for June. Then I'll dig a bit deeper into the Prigozhin incident, or the March for Justice, or the aborted military coup, and its three main protagonists, Prigozhin, Putin, and Lukashenko. So let's get on with the opinion polls results. Mr. Putin approval ratings are solid. The government's approval rating remained quite good too. Now let's look at how people feel about the situation in the country. The percentage of people feeling that the country is going in the right direction has taken a bit of a hit. You can see that a similar dip occurred back in September-October 2022 when the Kremlin announced a partial mobilization. Interestingly, although the numbers are a bit small, there is a difference between the two periods. Back in October, the number of respondents answering cannot say hardly changed, whereas in the June opinion polls there was a sharp increase in the respondents feeling that they could not tell if the country was heading in the right direction or not. In my opinion, this may suggest that at the time the opinion polls were conducted, at least, people were somewhat uncertain or perhaps a little baffled. After all, Prigozhin and the Wagner Group had been enjoying a very positive media coverage for their efforts in Ukraine. They've been called patriots and heroes, but now they were suddenly framed as traitors. So what happened? Well, to horribly summarize, Prigozhin got upset and, with his fellow Wagnerites, headed for Moscow. Lukashenko jumped in and negotiated an agreement between the Kremlin and Prigozhin. All would be forgiven and forgotten. Prigozhin was to go into exile in Belarus, and the Wagnerites could choose to either join the army, retire, or follow their leader in Belarus. Traitors are generally treated a bit more harshly, but all right, that counts as punishment. But on the 6th of July, Lukashenko confirmed that Prigozhin was not in Belarus anymore, and Prigozhin himself was sighted in St. Petersburg. So let's look at the three main actors in this baffling turn of events: Prigozhin, Putin, and Lukashenko. As we have to start somewhere, let's start at the beginning. Both Prigozhin and Putin are from St. Petersburg. Putin was born in 1952 in a stable family and from an early age showed promise, intelligence, and ambition. He got a degree in law, joined the KGB, and served as a foreign intelligence officer. In 1990, he returned to St. Petersburg and in 1991 was appointed chairman of the Supervisory Board of Casinos and Gambling. Let's compare this to Prigozhin's origin. Prigozhin was born in 1961, lost his father when he was 9. In 1979, a 18-year-old Prigozhin was caught stealing and was given a suspended sentence of 2 years. After being freed, he joined a gang in 1980. In 1981, he was sentenced to 12 years in prison for robbery, theft, fraud, and more. He was let out in 1990, and from what follows, I assume that while in prison, Prigozhin realized that he needed to get a bit smarter. He joined his mother and stepfather selling hot dogs. As this business grew, he started a chain of grocery stores. After that, with 3 partners, he founded the first Conti casino in St. Petersburg. And at this point, Prigozhin would have been at least aware of Putin, as Putin was in charge of regulating gambling in the city. Prigozhin decided to move into high-end catering, and in 1998 he opened a restaurant on a ship, New Island. This was where the movers and shakers of St. Petersburg went to dine, and where the Putin-Prigozhin relationship began in earnest. I feel we need a teeny-weeny bit of context here. This was the wild 90s. In 1994, over 38,000 homicides were recorded in Russia. For comparison, in the USA, in the same year, just over 23,000 homicides were recorded. In December of 1992, the monthly inflation rate peaked at 2,509. St. Petersburg alone was the home of 4 mafia-type criminal organizations. It was a time full of opportunity, an exciting but also dangerous time, when advancing in politics and/or business was risky, and having to deal with some shady characters was not unusual. Putin went on to become president. Prigozhin built a network of companies providing catering and other services to school, offices, and later the army. In 2013, he founded the Internet Research Agency, which appeared to focus on undermining voices critical of the Kremlin and spreading pro-Russian propaganda. And in 2014, with Dmitry Utkin, ex-Foreign Military Intelligence Officer, or GRU, who had gained experience of working in the Russian private military security sector with the Moran security group, formed Wagner. And now for our last protagonist. Lukashenko was born in 1954 to a single mother. He graduated from the Mogilev Pedagogical Institute in 1975. He worked his way up through the ranks while Belarus was part of the Soviet Union. In 1991, Belarus became an independent country, and in 1994, the first presidential election was run. Lukashenko won, and has been re-elected ever since. The New Ireland connection. In 2002, Lukashenko and Putin had dinner at Prigozhin's high-end restaurant, and Prigozhin was introduced to Lukashenko, and according to Lukashenko, that is when their friendship began. Roll forward to June 2023, and Lukashenko mediates a truce between his two old friends. Next, I will take Lukashenko's view of the events. Please bear in mind that Lukashenko is considered an authoritarian leader. He has won many presidential elections. Most wins came with a degree of controversy, such as preventing opposition candidates from running and jailing critics of his regime. According to Lukashenko, at 8 a.m. on Saturday, the 24th of June, he became aware of Prigozhin's actions. Shortly after, he was notified that Putin wanted to talk. They held talks at 10:10 a.m. Lukashenko said that he would talk to Prigozhin and advised Putin not to take any action against him. According to Lukashenko, Prigozhin was very angry at Shoigu and Gerasimov and was demanding for the two to be handed over to him. Lukashenko managed to talk Prigozhin around and got him to agree to stop the march and for the Wagnerites to return to their posts. In Lukashenko's recollection of the events, the Kremlin reached out to him. This is understandable. Putin could not be seen negotiating with Prigozhin directly, although Lukashenko makes a point of stating that Prigozhin was the one refusing to talk to Putin. Lukashenko pointed out to Prigozhin that they both know that Putin does not react well at being cornered, and continuing with the march may lead to widespread fighting. Lukashenko, in his speech addressing the audience in the room, seems to suggest that things are not that great in either Russia or Belarus, and the right trigger may result in widespread social unrest in both countries, and felt that Prigozhin march could be just that trigger. Finally, Lukashenko seems to regard Prigozhin and the Wagner Group as valuable assets and useful tools. Interestingly, in 2020, while talking about 33 Wagnerites that had been arrested in Minsk, who, he believed, had been sent to Belarus to undermine his regime, Lukashenko stated that he didn't blame Prigozhin. His old friend had to do the job he was given. So, what job did Prigozhin do? Wagner has been fighting in the Russo-Ukrainian war, but Prigozhin has also organized the recruitment and training of thousands of men who are now experienced fighters, soon to join the regular army. And recruiting enough servicemen and women has been an issue for the army since before Shoigu took over. Finally, Prigozhin has been complaining often and loudly about the inefficiency and pettiness of the Ministry of Defense. It remains to be seen what will happen next, but all confiscated assets have been returned to Prigozhin, and he is apparently moving freely inside Russia. And Mr. Peskov, the Kremlin spokesperson, has confirmed that the government is not interested in Prigozhin's whereabouts. A quick update. While I was editing this video, news came in that Mr. Prigozhin and the Wagner commanders attended a meeting in the Kremlin. The news cycle in Russia is moving on, but will Prigozhin's actions undermine President Putin? So far, there is little evidence of it, but time will tell. So, that was the story of the coup that never was. Thank you for watching. If you are subscribed to the channel, thank you so very much. And if you're not, but you have enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.